What a happy family photo, isn't it? But this man strangled his wife and two daughters to death. He buried his wife near the fuel tanks where she worked. After strangling his daughters, he threw them inside these fuel tanks. ChrisWatts' family murder is, without exaggeration, one of the most striking true crime stories of the last 10 years. Besides the murders committed, what makes this case so striking is that we have an abundance of visual material about it. We have hundreds of video recordings related to this case, police body camera footage, for example, or videos that Chris's wife shared on her Facebook account, court and interrogation records, text messages. Even though 6.5 years have passed since the incident, this horrific murder still draws people's attention because they can't fully piece together the parts. There's cheating and tons of lies involved. There's a marriage that had long been over. Understanding Chris's psychology is seriously difficult. Why did he kill his wife when he had the option of divorce? Was this murder committed as a result of a fit of rage, or was it a murder planned for weeks? In this video, let's try to understand the Chris Watts murder and the killer's psychology. What a happy family photo, isn't it? But this man strangled his wife and two daughters to death. He buried his wife near the fuel tanks where she worked. After strangling his daughters, he threw them inside these fuel tanks. Chris Watts' family murder is, without exaggeration, one of the most striking true crime stories of the last 10 years. Besides the murders committed, what makes this case so striking is that we have an abundance of visual material about it. We have hundreds of video recordings related to this case, police body camera footage, for example, or videos that Chris's wife shared on her Facebook account, court and interrogation records, text messages. Even though 6.5 years have passed since the incident, this horrific murder still draws people's attention because they can't fully piece together the parts. There's cheating and tons of lies involved. There's a marriage that had long been over. Understanding Chris's psychology is seriously difficult. Why did he kill his wife when he had the option of divorce? Was this murder committed as a result of a fit of rage, or was it a murder planned for weeks? In this video, let's try to understand the Chris Watts murder and the killer's psychology. When the police who arrived at the scene saw that no one was home and called Chris's behavior gave away the crime he committed. For example, when the police called Chris and told him they couldn't reach his wife and she wasn't answering the doorbell, Chris had said, "Wait for me," to the police. The thing is, when your pregnant wife and two daughters go missing, you don't tell the police, "Wait for me." You'd say, "Get inside the house right away and look." You'd tell the police to check the house immediately. If anyone other than Chris had done this, some of you might think maybe his wife had fainted in the shower and he didn't want the police to see his wife in that state, so he reacted that way. But Chris's behavior when he arrived home was also problematic. Chris starts sending performative messages to people on his phone. A person whose wife is really missing would call everyone first instead of sending individual messages. He would first call his wife's family and check if she went there, then he would start calling other relatives one by one. Chris goes into the bedroom, finds Shanann's ring, and shows this ring to the neighbor too. His goal after committing the murder was apparently to make it look like his wife had run away taking the children. He deliberately shoves this ring in his neighbor's face because he wants those present to think Shanann ran away. While doing this, that awkward state of his. Look, still we can't determine with certainty that Chris is the killer based on all these strange behaviors. Just at this moment, a person appears who will put Chris in quite a difficult situation. His neighbor Nate. Nate's garage camera can see Chris's garage just a little bit, and Nate offers the police to look at the camera footage. Look at how Chris panics as soon as he hears this. Chris had loaded his wife's body into the car while she was supposedly in the bedroom, returned home, and put his two daughters in the car as well. He was going to kill his daughters near the fuel tanks. If Nate's camera had a good viewing angle, Chris's entire cover would be blown. But luckily for him, only a small part of Chris's car was visible. Even at a tiny angle, Nate sees that Chris, who normally keeps his car outside, has pulled his car into the garage this time. Chris, who normally kept his car outside the garage, had pulled his vehicle into the garage this time, because he wanted to load his murdered wife's body and children into his car without showing them to anyone. Even though Nate is an ordinary neighbor, he trusts his instincts and understands Chris's strangeness like a detective.
You just want to go talk to him? I'm going to get his info real quick. No.
Rocking back and forth, and if you look, you have their boats and stuff in and out of the garage of it.
Right.
Look at Chris's increasing panic as Nate realizes something is wrong. Nate looks at him and shakes his head from side to side. Meanwhile, we see him getting increasingly angry at Nate. In fact, Chris gets so tense that he puts his hands behind his head and looks as if he's unconsciously been arrested. Moreover, we encounter a scene in these footages that wouldn't be out of place in movies. While neighbor Nate is trying to open the camera recording, he suddenly accidentally switches to the television, and right at that moment, a documentary about a baby's birth is playing on the screen. And Chris sees this baby and tells the police, "My missing wife was pregnant."
Oh, that's it.
She's pregnant as well. How far along? 14, 15 weeks.
It's such a strange coincidence that, in fact, if we encountered such a scene in a movie, we'd say they've exaggerated it, they've over-dramatized it, yet real life is more dramatic than movie scripts. Let's move on to our next video. After a mother and two daughters went missing, this incident started to attract attention in the local area, and a news channel also conducted an interview with Chris. Now let's watch the interview.
You think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just throw anything out there. I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, I want them back now.
Yeah, this might be a tough question, but did you guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back.
Chris is talking as if he lost his passport, not his wife and daughters. In fact, I assure you, when you lose your passport, you'd react more than Chris. Now look at the reaction of Shanann's closest friend. This is how a normal person reacts, with genuine concern. Whereas Chris is smiling while giving an interview as a spouse, and there's an inconsistency between the words he says and his facial expressions. Our next video takes place in the interrogation room at the police station. Here, the detective, just like Nate, senses that there's something strange about Chris and brings the conversation to, "Did you do something to your wife or children?" And look at this expression Chris uses.
These are your baby girls, and you have not shed one tear.
Don't look into that like I don't love my kids, I love my wife.
Explain to me. You're crying with your wife that you're leaving her,
Yeah.
but you don't cry that your two little baby girls.
I'm hoping they're still around somewhere. I'm hoping they're still somewhere.
Yeah, but you
alive.
don't have them right now. You're
I
not
know.
reading stories to them at night.
I know.
You're not giving them midnight snacks.
I love those girls to
Then
death.
show us that. Show us that.
I love those kids with all my heart. Nothing in this world would ever make me do anything to these kids.
Yes, throughout the interrogation, Chris doesn't say "my daughters" or "my children." He says "those kids" every time. The disconnect between Chris and the kids, we'll touch on this again in the next section, but it's not normal for a father to constantly refer to his daughters as "those kids" or "those children." The detective shifts gears a bit. He says to all these explanations of his, "Why should I believe you?"
Why should I believe you? Because I'm a very trustworthy person, and the people that do know me, they know how I am a calm person. I am not an argumentative person. I am a person who is never going to be abusive or physical in any kind of relationship. I will never harm my kids. I will never harm my wife. You can talk to any of my friends, any of her friends. They know me. They know I'm a low-key guy that's quiet. I'm not about confrontation. I'm not about anything that elevates to that level. If someone yells at me, screams at me, I just hate it, and I just try to get it by the wayside and get it back to where it's cool. Just a cool conversation to where none of that gets to that height. Because I am not that person.
Now think about it. your wife and daughters are missing, a detective comes out and says, "Why should I believe all this you're telling me?" seemingly claiming that you're responsible for this disappearance. What would an innocent father do in such a situation? He would get red in the face, he would yell and shout, whereas Chris immediately starts explaining, saying, "I'm such a calm person, I'm such an anti-violence person," immediately taking a defensive position. This is exactly what guilt psychology looks like. Next, the detective asks a clever question. Let's say we caught the guy who kidnapped your wife and daughters. What do you want us to do to him?
When we find the guy who took him, what do you think we should do? Honestly, like, they're gonna come home safe, correct? When you find the guy, life in prison would be that's what I would think with 2 kids that are involved. What if you hurt them? I'm not sure if like that penalty is even used. Is it used in Colorado? I'm not even sure what is the death penalty. Okay. I mean, like, if these kids are not alive, like, there's nothing you could do to cope with that, to make me cope with that, if those kids are not okay.
If a detective asked any father the same question, what would you say? You'd say, destroy that man. In fact, leave me alone with him in a room for 5 minutes so I can make him suffer worse than death. You'd show your anger, right? Look at the answer Chris gave. In fact, look at the hesitation. Because the person the detective is talking about is himself, he can't even properly play the role of getting angry. Now let's turn our attention to Shanann's Facebook posts. Shanann was someone who uploaded almost everything about her family to social media. We can easily call her a social media addict. She really shared everything back then. And now let's continue our Chris analysis by examining these videos. The common point of these videos is this: we can't see a single moment in any of these videos where Chris is truly happy and energetic. In the videos, he looks like he doesn't want to be there. The character difference between his wife and himself becomes more apparent in these videos. Shanann is outgoing and someone who loves to share her personal life on social media. Chris is introverted and has nothing to do with social media. We can still somewhat understand his unhappiness in videos with his wife. Chris is someone who's not very comfortable in front of the camera. That's his temperament.
Hey Santa, where's your phone?
In the garage.
I wanted it.
Oh.
Sit down, Santa. Have a seat. I'll try to get the kids.
Ho, ho, ho.
Here's Santa.
Yes.
Where's the phone?
On top of your car in the garage?
I needed it for pictures. Hold on. I gotta get the phone. This is hard. As one parent. I gotta get the phone so I can get pictures. Oh, please. My husband's a genius. Doesn't listen.
But the real problem becomes clear in the video with the children. Anyway, he's repeating the same movement like a robot, like a machine, and while playing with his daughters, he doesn't look like he's enjoying it at all. It's as if it's a task he has to do. Probably even in moments like these, he was thinking about his mistress, Nikki. In this video, his daughter, Cece, hands him her plate to blow on it, but Chris is so disconnected from the children that he can't understand what his daughter's trying to say.
Go girls! Blow on it. She wants you to blow on it.
He only starts blowing when his wife tells him. It's as if he has social anxiety even towards his own children. He's not comfortable even in their presence.
Hey! Hey! Airplane. I know. I did.
I can understand him being unhappy, but in all the videos, Chris acts as if his mind is somewhere else. Let's also watch this pregnancy video.
We did it again. I like that shirt. Really?
Really?
That's awesome. pink means...
That's just the test.
I know. It just says the pink is going to be girls.
I don't know. Just the test.
That's awesome.
If we'd watched this video without knowing about the murders he committed, but when we watch it after the murders, it's obvious that Chris didn't want this baby. Because Shanann was filming, he pulled himself together, but even with this lens, he can't hide that awkward state. We can understand from Chris's body language in the videos that there were problems in the couple's relationship, but the fundamental problem in the relationship becomes clear when we look at the couple's text messages. Shanann had once taken the girls and gone to visit her own family's house. Chris was alone at home during this period. Of course, alone in quotes. And in these 5 weeks, Chris never once called or checked on his pregnant wife and daughters. Shanann was calling and Chris wasn't answering the phone calls. Chris was probably meeting with his mistress during this time. I am very, very sorry for not seeing your FaceTime calls. FaceTime stayed open on my work phone. Don't forget to answer my calls. When you wake up in the mornings, call and ask about the kids. You haven't called them even once since you've been on your own. I know, and from now on, I'll FaceTime as soon as I wake up. I'm incredibly sorry, I screwed up. Please forgive me, I thought you missed us. Apparently you didn't. In the following messages, Shanann's patience had finally run out. This trip showed me what's missing in our relationship. All the emotions and feelings are one-sided. I can't come back home like this. Meet me halfway. I promise, I love you so much, beautiful. I love you too, but what you did isn't just for tonight. I kept looking at my phone and I couldn't get even a single message from you. Seriously, but we've been together for 8 years and we have 2.5 kids. Shanann had told another friend, I'm tired of struggling alone in this relationship for 8 years, but she understood that this relationship was now bankrupt when their sex life ended. Yes, there had always been a lack of communication and one-sided effort, but still they had a decent sex life. Shanann had returned home after the 5-week family visit, and Chris hadn't made a single sexual advance towards her. You're not kissing me. That's when there was another woman, a third person, a mistress. Chris's sexual desires were being satisfied by another woman, and with each passing day, Chris's desire for his wife was decreasing. Right around this time, the baby's gender was revealed. The couple was going to have a baby boy. Just as the relationship was about to end, with the revelation of the baby's gender, Shanann clung to one last hope. She still didn't want to accept the truth that her husband was cheating on her. Before going out of state for a business trip, Chris left a letter. This letter was essentially a plea. Let's save our relationship, let's make mutual effort. It was a plea. The letter contained expressions like, our last 5 weeks were terribly hard, but I missed everything about you. I missed your breath on my skin. I missed you kissing me. I missed watching you play with the children. I will always fight for you and for our marriage. The more we fight for each other, I won't lose you and I won't. I don't remember ever struggling this much in my love, but it will be worth it. I love you with all my heart. Shanann had been married once before Chris and had gone through a draining divorce process. This first marriage and subsequent divorce had broken her trust in herself and in people. One reason Shanann held on to her marriage with Chris so much was that she didn't want to experience the same disaster from the past again. At some point, she turned maintaining this marriage into a matter of pride, but when the other party is wrong from the start, all these efforts remain meaningless. For example, Shanann was buying books about their relationship. Once she had gifted Chris a book called Hold Me Tight and asked him to read the book. The book consisted of advice on how a relationship can be both long-lasting, healthy, and passionate. And of course, Chris didn't read this book. Where do you think the book ended up? In the trash can.
Now let's talk about you. Okay. I see pictures of you from a few years ago, and I see you standing before me now. Okay. Yeah, you've gotten pretty fit. Yeah. You can imagine when guys start cheating or want to cheat, that's what happens. Yes. Tell me about it. I did not cheat on my wife.
Chris had been cheating on his wife with a coworker named Nichol Kessinger for a few months. The reason he wasn't present in most of these videos and his mind was always elsewhere was Nikki. This woman was always on his mind. When we look at Nikki's interrogation records and her messages with Chris, we see that she too is a problematic figure. For example, after learning about Chris's murder, she searched for the fortune of a woman named Amber Frey on her phone. For those who don't know, Amber Frey was the mistress of the killer Scott Peterson, who murdered his wife. Scott and Chris were very similar to each other. Scott, like Chris, wanted to spend his life not with his wife, but with his mistress. He ended up killing his wife. When this murder came to light and Scott went to prison, the spotlight was on the mistress Amber Frey. Amber also saw this attention as an opportunity and wrote a book telling about her forbidden love affair with Scott. This book reached hundreds of thousands of readers. Nikki searched for this woman on her phone after the murder, planted the question in people's minds of whether Nikki had manipulated Chris in this murder. We knew that Nikki wanted to marry Chris as soon as possible. She was looking at wedding dress pictures on the internet and was waiting for Chris to divorce his wife as quickly as possible. During their meetings, she would say, "Go take care of your children, go take care of your wife," and she would say these expressions in a passive-aggressive tone. She had deleted her text messages with Chris just before and just after the murder. The detectives handling the case, as successful as they were in exposing Chris's cover, didn't focus enough on Nikki in this case either. Now let's rewind the dates a bit. Let's go back 6 years before the murder to the year 2012. It was the second year of Chris and Shanann's marriage. Chris was taking a course on communication and needed to prepare a presentation for that course. This video he uploaded from his personal account is still on YouTube. First, his appearance catches our attention. We can say he looked much more mild-mannered with his overweight and bespectacled state. His voice trembles when speaking, and his anxiety is evident. But this isn't very surprising. Most people get nervous when they have to give a presentation. But what this video is about is the topic Chris chose for his presentation. Chris gave a talk about breakdown and repair in romantic relationships.
I'm doing my speech on relationship deterioration and repair. And this is my PowerPoint.
Another event you wouldn't see even in movies. The person who killed his wife and daughters, who also led a marriage in the worst possible way, is giving a presentation about how a relationship should be 6 years before the murders. Just like that pregnancy scene, it's an incredibly strange situation, and some of Chris's statements in the speech show us the mistakes in his perspective on marriage and relationships. For example,
you have to ask yourself 3 questions when you're in a relationship. Do I have a desire to keep this relationship going? Do I have a moral obligation to stay in this relationship? Or is it a necessity for me to stay in this relationship? According to my research, sometimes a necessity could be children. Sometimes when you have children and your relationship starts to deteriorate, a child could help repair it.
Look at what he says. Is what he said correct? Can children save a broken relationship? Children don't save a relationship. They can only extend the struggling period of an already bad relationship a bit, which ultimately harms the children. Chris himself proves that his statement, "Children can save a marriage," is wrong through his own case. He had become so disconnected from this marriage that he eventually turned it to someone who didn't even call and check on his children. In part of his presentation, Chris had talked about the importance of being distant when you're married and meeting someone of the opposite sex.
Even at the job, you might meet a new person, could strengthen into something else, and could weaken the bond you have with the partner you have.
It was a do as I say, not as I do situation, because Chris had done the exact opposite of what he explained. Nikki was his coworker, and Chris had clearly written in a flirtatious tone in the email he sent to Nikki and left his phone number at the end of the email.
If you met somebody at work or a new friendship has occurred and as it goes on, you see that, okay, maybe this relationship has more potential than the relationship I have with my partner. And that will gradually push the old relationship out and push the new relationship in.
In this presentation, Chris was describing the mistakes he would make 6 years later.
Always disclose your feelings. Don't keep things bottled up because it will later come back to bite you.
In this respect, too, he was an open book. He wasn't satisfied with his marriage, but he never sat down and talked about these problems with his wife, only with others. Did Chris commit these murders through planning over time, or was it the result of a fit of madness? Even though Chris tried to portray all these events as a fit of madness, these murders were premeditated. Chris had initially told the detectives the cheapest lie in the world. my wife killed my daughters, then I couldn't bear it and killed my wife. Of course, when the detectives didn't buy this lie, Chris made up this lie. After my wife learned that I was cheating on her, she told me, "You'll never see the girls again." And after she said that, I had a fit of madness and killed her, was the explanation he gave. This lie was also very cheap, because if Chris had such a fit of madness after hearing, "You'll never see your daughters again," why had he killed his daughters? After failing with his lies, he went and finally blamed his mistress. "This woman seduced me and made me hate my family," he said. He constantly tried to shift the blame to the other side, but never took responsibility himself. So how do we know that these murders were premeditated? Right after Chris committed these murders, he looked up the lyrics to Metallica's Battery on his phone. What were these lyrics like? Let's see. "Can I kill my family? Battery inside me hidden." Probably Chris was listening to this song before committing the murder and building a fantasy in his head. He was psyching himself up. After the murders, by looking at the lyrics of this song, he made an attempt to dramatize and romanticize the situation. My evidence that Chris premeditated this murder hasn't ended. Right after Chris committed the murders, he called his daughter's school and withdrew their registration. He called the realtor and put his house up for sale. In short, after finishing his business with his old family and throwing them aside like garbage, he immediately started working on his new life. But one piece still doesn't sit right in our heads. If Chris loved his mistress so much and wanted to continue his life with her, why didn't he divorce Shanann? Why didn't he choose the option of just divorcing instead of committing these murders and taking these risks? The thing is, Chris had been someone throughout his life who cared about what those around him thought of him. As soon as news of his family's disappearance was heard, he texted a coworker asking, "Did others hear about this incident too?" Throughout his entire life, he lived with the fear of being judged by people. He saw the divorce situation with his wife as a source of shame. He didn't want to be seen as the man who left his pregnant wife with 2 daughters and married his mistress. We see that Chris premeditated these murders, but was Chris going to commit these murders and get away with it? Wouldn't anyone ask where this mother and 2 daughters disappeared to? Yes, Chris was that stupid. He had been living a double life for a long time. Chris the family man at home, and a second Chris living a love affair with his mistress. He had become so absorbed in his fantasy world with his mistress that he didn't want any obstacles to appear in front of this fantasy, neither his wife nor his children, but he had overestimated his own intelligence too much. Interestingly, in the relationship between Chris and Shanann, Chris had been the one making more effort at the beginning. He was the one who sent the first message and friend request on Facebook to Shanann. At that time, since Shanann had just come out of a failed marriage,
through sickness and everything, he's been there. He was the one that let me lay on him and fall asleep for 3.5 hours on his lap while he had to pee.
And was struggling with illnesses, she wasn't thinking of a relationship with Chris. But after the passionate honeymoon phase of the relationship ended, Chris started to get bored with his wife. He thought children would save this relationship, but he quickly got bored of the children too. When he transitioned from his fat and bespectacled state to his muscular and fit state, he experienced a confidence explosion. He saw that he could influence another woman besides Shanann, Nikki. At that moment, he felt on top of the world and wanted to format his life. He saw the opportunity and potential for a new life and didn't want to take the baggage of his old life into this new life. He didn't want to carry the responsibility of being a family man with him. Chris is such a coward that he probably strangled his wife while she was asleep too. We couldn't see any signs of struggle on Shanann's hands or body. Shanann's father had said that his daughter had a warrior spirit, and that if Chris tried to consciously strangle her, she would resist with all her might.
I just want to say I love you both. You look great together. She's been looking her whole life for a good guy. I couldn't ask for a better one. Love you guys.
You went from being my brother, my sister's protector, one of the most loved people in my family, to someone I will spend the rest of my life trying to understand. What gave you the right to put your hands on a woman, let alone my best friend, my beloved sister, your daughters, and your son? Why weren't they enough for you? They trusted you. They loved you. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't cry for my family. They were my whole world. Hearing my mother and father cry themselves to sleep in this hotel room causes me anguish that is beyond words. You took away my privilege of being an uncle to the most precious little girls I've ever known. I will never hear the words Uncle Frankie again, but you will never be called Dad again either.
What is Chris doing now? For one thing, he's been ostracized by all the inmates in prison. No one wants to talk to him, and he's been placed under protection, so his life isn't threatened. He says he's turned to religion and blames the devil for all this situation. Yes, Chris, who first blamed his wife and then his mistress, is now blaming the devil. He has one last chance to please people and not be judged by them. But it's clear he's not sincere in his turn to religion. In the videos, a man who had nothing to do with God in his normal life somehow takes refuge in God when his crime is exposed. This religiosity isn't sincere either, because he still shows not the slightest bit of remorse. Look at the interviews they did with Chris in prison. He's completely indifferent and unconcerned about these deaths. I want to open a separate parenthesis for Shanann in all this scenario. She had sent the photo you see to a friend 1 week before the murder. It's so obvious that she was tired and emotionally worn out from all these processes. Shanann was confused. She still couldn't believe that Chris was cheating on her. With her 2 daughters, and while pregnant, she was trying to save her marriage, and she was doing all of this alone. ChrisWatts is a perfect example of a fake gentleman, appearing gentle, quiet, calm, and polite on the outside, while being completely different on the inside. And people like this, when they cry, don't cry because they regret what they did. They cry because they got caught. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us bring you more true crime content like this. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.